We're gonna be talking today about the Wanton song, Led Zeppelin's The Wanton Song. And I was just thinking about this a little bit, but I realized that my soloing strategy to it is play G minor pentatonic and focus on Dorians sometimes and hope for the best. And I just kind of want to think through my thought process a little bit and try to figure out, is that the best way to go about it? What I think I'm going to do is go off of memory for a sec, and then I'm going to try to figure out what the actual chords are. I mean, just from ear, it's kind of something along the lines of like... yeah, that kind of a thing. I was recently coming up with an idea for another video, and what I found personally is that when I learned stuff early on, it was pretty much always wrong or had something missing. So let's actually have some fun here and just see if I got it right. We can cheat a little bit based on the rest of the chords in the song, but let's just hunt around, you know. This is supposed to just kind of be a process of how I would learn a song and really dive deeply into it. And like the name implies, analysis paralysis will definitely happen. Let's see what other people think. It actually wouldn't surprise me, yeah, if this came out, if they tabbed that first and then they made this after. Just stolen, but it looks pretty similar, so nothing too interesting to deal with here. Let's go back to my first instinct, which was the live performances, or just people doing covers, and let's just see what we can find. God, the power on those drums. Dude, so dope. Just first listen what the bass was doing. Nothing much else to gain here. Maybe we'll slow it down just for a second. My favorite part, just changing the time and just hearing how freaking wacky it sounds. So we're dealing with power chords. Bass is doing kind of, I would say, similar stuff. And that's what I heard on when I was hearing the recording too. So first pass, looks like we hit the nail on the head. So let's see where we're at then. So what I'm gonna do is think about what kind of the implied key of the song is. So knowing what I have heard throughout the song, we know at least we've got that B flat 5, or that B flat as a 5 chord. Sometimes it's actually just straight up played as a B flat major. And that should give us some hints of what's going on. We might mess around with this last chord and see if we can get anything that sounds a little bit better. I'll say this 100 times probably throughout all the times I stream, but I think that if we're going to move from the intermediate guitarist to more of an expert guitarist, we got to focus on chords. Key is going to be helpful, but chords are going to be what's the most important. And I was almost thinking about this like harmony explained with 5 levels of complexity or something like that. And when I'm looking at this, you can kind of do it the same way. You know, I would say level 0 is just learning the solos straight up. You don't need any theory. You just find the tabs and go. Probably level 1 is just G minor pentatonic and just hoping for the best. My level 2 right now is G Dorian. We'll get into that, why I think that is. But I think that level like 4 and higher, we're going to be focusing on the chords and we'll be playing whatever we want. Nice little bar here, or even better, you do it the Jimmy Page way or Jimi Hendrix way. You just straight up, just don't bar it. You just bring your thumb over. So something like that, and then you can bring your thumb over and just do a little bar on these two. Same deal. Major. Minor. Dominant 7. I actually liked the major a lot better. I didn't when I would play it in isolation, but with the whole band, it actually doesn't sound half bad. Dominant Seven's a really interesting kind of character too. As far as I can tell, again, what you really want to do if the band is playing and you're listening to the recording or whatever, you want to follow whatever chords is actually being played. From what I can tell, they're all power chords, so they don't have that major or minor or kind of other characteristic in order to force you to choose or do it exactly what that backing is doing. This is where we have a little bit openness to do whatever you want, and which is great. Yeah, definitely having second thoughts on the minor G minor. So let's fix that. We've now established that we've gone from this power chord version right down into this implied chord harmony thing that we have going on. So if I'm following along with this and following this same structure, these three chords should give us a hint of what's going on. So if I have a major and then a whole step up, I have a major chord, that kind of gives you some hints onto what kind of key you're in, especially if we have another major chord stacked on top over there. So that all checks out. We've got the 1 chord, which is F, and then you've got the 4 chord, which is B flat, and then you got C, which is the 5 chord. We need to break this apart into something that's higher level that we can transfer elsewhere, right? Today it's the Wanton song, but the next time you hear the 1-4-5 chord progression, or some version of it, then you have this whole line of thinking in your arsenal. Let's talk about what's going on with F. So we know that the 4 chord implies Lydian, and then the 5th chord implies Mixolydian, and then you're playing Ionian for the first. So we're all in the same key center. There's no changing keys in here, which means all of your 7 notes and then copied and pasted between all your octaves will all work here. And now we just need to focus on those tones. So here are my up here at the 1st fret down what looks to be around 7th or 8th fret. So you've got quite a bit of room here on the fretboard, real estate you could say. But there's going to be some things that I think will stick out to you, and at least it did to me when I was first starting to look at this stuff. Hey, look, it's the minor pentatonic scale. We got G right here. It's a G minor pentatonic scale, and it's all built into F. So again, I would say this is kind of the level 2 or whatever, where it's just like, oh, I'm in some key and I know I can play all these notes and I can find shapes that are very similar to what I'm used to playing and try to get some mileage out of what you already know without needing to really learn much. If I were to instead illustrate each chord by chord and see how often those notes fall within the minor pentatonic scale, we might see something surprising, to say the least. These definitely feel like major positional changes if you're going to try to focus more on the chords. What's going through my mind is I see a lot of around 3, a whole bunch of stuff lined up. That's the kind of classic minor pentatonic, or even major pentatonic, trying to think about it that way. A lot of similar ideas, but I'm moving it up. So maybe my hand would rest over here on barring kind of the 5th string and then focusing on those kind of different chords or notes. And then what are we left here on F? I would probably stay here and then focus more on kind of this kind of D triad thing, if I'm going to kind of replay those first 3 chords. Okay, yeah, that actually worked out really well. And of course, I slid back there. to get into the last chord for G. But we haven't talked about G yet, and we need to. We know that if we have two majors a full step away from each other, kind of like just these chord shapes in general, we know that whatever chord was the first major chord or lower down, which is in this case B flat, we're mix in Lydian, and then when we go up to that second chord, that's going to be the Mixolydian version. So if I'm going from F to G, it's kind of a similar thing. It's almost like in the middle, I've just changed keys and gone from, you know, a 4/5 here into a 4/5, but in this new key. And as far as I can tell, this new key is probably C major. So now I have, you know, if I'm thinking about C, the key of C, the relative minor is A, and then I can start using A minor pentatonic stuff. Hey, look, it's just moved around. We have to remember that we're on G though, and let's just outline some of the things in G, or all the G chord notes with this new key. And there's actually kind of the implied other minor pentatonic shape over here. But so I might go back to kind of, instead of being up here and fret 5 and 7, I might go back down to 3 and 5 and experiment, or I might come all the way up to 7. We've essentially gone from the power chords of the song down in here to faking a kind of chord progression where I'm mostly in F, and to me G major sounds a little bit more interesting to me than just messing around in G minor pentatonic land or anything like that. So we do have a small key change. Luckily all the notes in here at least are the same. We just have to focus on chord tones, and for me I'm going to focus on chord tones starting with that B flat. See a lot of notes kind of lining up with that 5 and 3. Then a lot of notes lining up in 5 and 7 for the C. And of course for F, we have a really nice, another minor pentatonic shape, or the D shape if we're talking about the cage system. And finally, if I scroll over to that key change part, I am seeing a lot of good stuff with just the traditional E shape and focusing on that, or focusing on the minor pentatonic shape down here at the 7th fret. So not bad. Not bad. That's pretty cool. I think the big things that are that I'm gonna take away with is, if I have a 4 to 5 and I know I'm doing that Lydian to Mixolydian thing, I can really just figure out where those chords are in context of the A shape, and then just travel along. This is not the only time that even Jimmy Page has written a progression kind of like this. This is Critical Guitar. I'm Cole. Today we talked about how to solo over the Wanton song, and I just want to say thank you. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.